Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fine. What about you? It's been a while.
It has. You're very loud as well. I'm not coming through my headsets.
Oh,
I'm good. Yeah, the kids are finishing off their school holidays at the moment, so I've had those around a lot of the time recently.
school holidays. Are they still on holiday? Like,
Yeah, they have.
yeah.
Oh, there we go. Now you're in my headset. Yeah, they had last week off and this week off, and then they're back again on Monday.
Okay, no, I thought it was still the summer vacation.
Oh no, it's winter here. Well,
Oh,
autumn,
yeah, you're
spring.
right.
Wait, spring. Yeah.
Yeah, we are now in autumn here, so spring. Yeah, yeah, you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's all backwards down here.
The toilet flushes the other way
And
around.
yeah, I was going to say, and it's not just the weather that's backwards. Um, actually, does it go the other way around? I should test that. I've never tried. I thought that was one of those urban myth things where sinks go the opposite way.
I'll flush the toilet later and send you a video so you can compare it.
Oh dear, I don't think I want to see that video.
Uh, it will be clean.
Oh
Let
dear.
me get the code to become host. Let me find it.
Yeah, I'm in
Found
the
it.
browser at the moment, so I can't actually become host
I
or
can. Don't
do
worry.
pretty much anything.
Uh, unless someone changed the code, I should be able to become.
Surprise. Hello, hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Ted. I'm assuming you are Ran on Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome. Is this your first time joining?
Yeah, my first time joining.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you hear about
Uh,
this from Discord, or did you see it somewhere else?
Oh, I joined the Discord and then I just randomly saw you guys had a pairing channel. Then I clicked on it and apparently you guys hosted weekly things. I thought that was really cool. So I just came to test it out. Thought it's like 3:21 a.m. here.
3:21. Wow. I thought it was late for me. Where are you in New Zealand?
Um, oh no, I'm in California.
California. Oh right. Oh, even further. Okay, because I'm in Australia, so it's
Oh,
what 20 past 9 at night for me.
oh.
And then the
I,
only later I could think of was going to New Zealand. But yeah, no, California would also make sense.
yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't join at 3 a.m., but I prefer to
I'm
sleep
really
sometimes.
uh,
Uh, so anyway, does any of you have something to work on or to have a look?
I have a couple merge requests, but I think they're fine. I just did one recently, and basically for that one, I think it'd be nice if I could have some feedback on it, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
press link in the chat if like you don't mind.
no,
Yep.
go for it.
All right.
Lee, where did Lee post that? Lee mentioned that somebody was having an issue
Yeah,
moving a
but
merge request forward. Was that you, Ted?
Oh no,
No,
that
okay.
wasn't.
okay.
Oh no, the other person's opened up a merge request but doesn't have capacity at the moment to finish it off. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was like a couple of days back, but I think you guys got back to me like right away, so it was no problem. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just to set. Oh, actually, we should probably do an introduction and set
I'm
expectations.
we're not yeah, we're not live yet, huh?
No, it is recording though. What is it? Is it just recording
It's
to?
recording to the cloud, to Liz Cloud. So I don't know. Do we want to go live, or should we still keep the recording and let Lee upload it later, so he has something to do?
Don't have a preference either way. I was just going to introduce myself and.
Okay, so
Do we want to record that, or we'll let Lee do it later? He can cut where he doesn't want. Then
let me make sure that the recording is actually going to Lee's cloud, so that we don't lose it.
while Marco's doing that, I'll say hello. I'm Andrew. I have my webcam off still. Hang on.
Hello, I'm Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew. Yeah, so Marco and I are not actually GitLab employees. We are part of the GitLab core team, which is like just contributors who have done a number of contributions. With these pairing sessions, they are fairly ad hoc in what we actually cover, and they may or may not run based up until like 5 minutes beforehand kind of thing, just because people's lives obviously have stuff going on. So I definitely would not wait up until 3 a.m. just to see if something's going to go ahead. Most weeks, there's normally a couple of people that will jump in, but there's definitely weeks where they have been missed. Yeah, like I said, I'm in Australia. I'm from the UK originally. I moved here 14 years ago. And I've been contributing to GitLab properly about 2 years now. But then before that, about 8 years ago as well, I did a few initial merge requests.
8 years?
Yeah.
Basically at the start?
No, GitLab's been around for much longer than that.
Yeah, okay. Well, not from the start right away, but from half.
Yeah, because initially, well, I was working still at IntelliHR, my previous company. I was working at IntelliHR, and we were using GitHub at the time, but I wanted to try and move us over to GitLab, but the GitHub importer was missing a bunch of things. So I started writing a few small merge requests to pull things like labels and release attachments and things like that across into GitLab. And then we decided the amount of work to move things over just wasn't worth it. So I stopped contributing after that. And then picked it up again, a few years back. Did you want to do a quick introduction, Marco?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like Andrew, I'm not from England, or I don't live in New Zealand. I'm from Italy, and I live in Italy. I started contributing to GitLab almost 2 years ago, and yeah, like Andrew, I did start contributing to things that we needed for the company that I work for, and basically that's how it went. Nothing really too exciting, apart that both me and Andrew are part of the GitLab core team, so not actually team members, but we are part of the community core team, so we have a stronger relationship, let's say, with the actual GitLab team. And yeah, that's it.
Oh, I see. Oh, I don't know why I just randomly stopped like that. I was gonna ask a question to Andrew. So you basically said you contributed to both GitHub and GitLab. You said you had been contributing open source for like 8 years, right? So you've done like 2 years at GitLab, and the rest of the time it was GitHub or something else?
No. So sorry. At the previous company I worked at, we were using GitHub for GitHub for source control, and we were evaluating moving over to GitLab for source control instead.
Oh.
But because there were a few things missing in the GitLab importer from GitHub, I opened up a few merge requests to improve the importer a bit.
Oh, I see. I see.
But then, yeah, about 3 years ago, we did actually move over from GitHub to GitLab. And at that point, as we were using it every day, we had a few like comments internally about things that could be improved. So I started contributing again just to fix small issues that the team had that seemed quite doable at the time.
That's probably how it starts, right? I think it's pretty cool how you guys both pretty much started at the same time, like 2 years.
Well, I guess you, Andrew, did start at least a few months before me.
It was a little before you, I think. Yeah, but not that much.
Oh, when I joined you, when I started contributing, you really not much after that you joined the core team.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, anyway. Should we start and have a look at your MR then? If you wanted to have some feedback, maybe you can walk us through your MR, explain a little bit, and ask us whatever you want to ask.
Oh yeah, sure. Honestly, I'm pretty new. I basically contributed to a little bit to open source like back then. But it was kind of like very minor things. And here it's like, it's also like, kind of basic stuff as well. It's like just quick wins, but I'm just trying to like, figure stuff out right now. Yeah.
That's
So
the way to
yeah. So do you want me to share my screen or should I just
yeah, absolutely. Feel free to do it.
let me just make sure everything is clean. Yeah, I think that's fine. Share screen and all right. I'll share the whole thing. All right, so this is the one. Let me just oh yeah, can you guys see my screen right now?
Yep.
Okay, so
That's a lot of cats.
I was gonna say those cats are creepy.
I think the whole terminal emulator is also called Kitty, so
Okay.
All right.
Okay, let me just see the commits, see what files this were. So basically the whole thing is dealing with this issue, which is here's for cluster agents projects. Instead of using just agent ID, it should also be able to find it with agent as well. And that's pretty much it. So just get and delete, and also change the documentation, change the tests to make it fit. And he also said to change the search function as well, like the regex. But then he said it might break stuff, so I didn't bother changing any of that. So let's go back. Merge requests. So what's the best way to show?
Sorry, just reading that solution. That's the solution already sounds like it could be a breaking change.
Yep.
But I guess if we can keep backwards compatibility, it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I did my best to keep backwards compatibility for this one. So make sure, like, 1 second. I think like the whole chat bar is like in the way. Let me move towards the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Without this one. Okay. So this is gonna be pretty ugly. It's a part of some stuff I commented over. Comment over here inside the merge request. So is this a draft? Because I figured out I'll need a lot of changes. Wait, no, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong one. My bad. Yeah, I'm fumbling.
Don't
Okay,
worry.
so basically here, types integer string. So basically if it's a integer, it'll basically if it's numeric, it'll basically coerce into an integer. Otherwise it coerces into a string. And then this whole check, I'm not sure if it's necessary or not, because it could be more this will all still work without this check, but I make the check just in case if it's a string, it basically won't do this find by one time, because I think that would be bad probably. Like it's like an extra query. It's like one more find by query.
Mm-hmm.
But the code could also work if like this is all removed and it's just agent equals, and you move integer, it just stays as a string, and then later when you use find by, it'll just like automatically coerce into a numeric anyway. So that doesn't really matter. I think this whole block could also be put into like a method or something, because I use it twice, so there's like a lot of code duplication right here.
Yeah, that's probably
Mhm.
something that a reviewer will suggest, to extrapolate that into its own method.
Yeah. The only issue is I actually had, I mean, sounds kind of silly, but I kind of didn't know where to put it in another method, like to keep it in the right scope. So I tried making a private method, right? And I made the method and everything, and I passed in the agents finder as well as the agent param. So I made a method and
Mhm.
all that, and I made like this called a method, but then like nothing worked no matter which scope I put it in. Like first I tried it like a little bit outside of resource, so just inside this agents class, and then it just broke. So I was like, okay. Then I tried putting it inside of resources and it broke again. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll basically deal with it later. I'm just gonna get something out first that works, then I do everything later. I'm not sure that's like the correct approach, but
Did
after
it
that,
break as in throw an error, or did it break as in just not return the right stuff?
it threw an error. It threw a bunch of
Okay.
very strange errors that honestly weren't that helpful.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I figured I would just deal with it later. Yeah, and the next thing is agent spec. So the spec thing is, I also figured that I kind of underdid the test. Let me see if this is even the right one. I think this is the right test. Let me see. It should be down. Line 152 and line. Yeah, so basically I figure I'll need to add more tests. So the only thing I really did here is I kind of changed the agent test. This is kind of long now at this point. So it just ensures that it returns the project agent by agent ID first if both agent ID and name are available. So I create another cluster agent here, and I give the name of the agent ID. So just in case it's like, since it's an integer, it basically can't find it by ID. It'll basically search it by name.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think these tests are kind of still messy because they're kind of coupled and they're not really like split apart yet. I just got something out and I figured I'll just change it later after some feedback. And I just did the original one was just return the project agent if agent ID is available. So I made another one, return a project agent if agent name is available. Then down here, I basically just did the same thing for delete, which is on line 152. I basically just changed it to deletes agent using agent ID and deletes the agent for project using name. And if I remember correctly, I also seen there should be a way you should be able to get the project's tokens, like the agent's tokens as well. But that wasn't really mentioned inside of the issue, so I didn't really handle that yet. And I'm not sure if I'm able to. And also there's no spec for it, so well, there might be the C tokens. Okay, yeah, so it's fine. It's probably somewhere else.
Yeah,
And the last thing is just the empty file. Yeah, this is kind of a bit messy. My bad.
no, don't
So
worry.
this is just basic changes. Just changes to, instead of saying agent ID, it just says agent. And then it just says you can pass in a string or an integer and just simple description. But my main thing is just that. So let's go here. So we see actually what it looks like. So I think the main thing is like I don't know where to add in the fact that like how it works. So since this is like kind of like the API details, so shouldn't it say that like for example if like both the ID and the name exists, then it'll basically prioritize the ID, because I feel that's something that's kind of important to know. And that's not really yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a little snippet you can put in there that will add like an info box or something. I can't remember what they're called now.
I think you can search for info column inside of Markdown files. Let's see.
Is this even where it should be changed? I basically just put in the text and I figured this is this even how you change like the website or is this something else
Yes, it is.
entirely?
For the docs, it is, yes.
Oh, that's actually really convenient. That's really cool.
Um, the first thing that I can see that's going to be an issue here is that existing things that are passing in. Oh, it's part of the URL actually, isn't it? So it's not. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. Because I was thinking if something is calling this and passing in a parameter called agent, but if it's part of the URL, then that's irrelevant. So ignore me.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to be an issue.
I was thinking
Yeah.
it's going to be like a get param, not a URL thing.
Oh yeah, same. That was kind of thing that was kind of messing me up in the beginning too when I first started working on it because I was thinking like in Rails when you have the thing called like what's it called again where like you filter the params and pretty much the params have to be passed in with like a certain name or it doesn't work. But then I basically looked at the API and it just said that it's just a URI and I was like, oh okay, that's like a bit better. So like it pretty much won't break other things, I think.
No, it shouldn't break any other thing. By the way, I did find another REST API that's using helper methods. So that's doable. If you want to extract that on the same file and not extract that on the same logic on a method.
Oh sure.
Let me find it again because I closed
You said something about a helper API.
Yes. If you, for example, go to where was it? Yeah, if you search links.rb inside of lib API release. Yeah, that one.
Oh my bad. I think I misspelled live.
Yeah,
Link.
release.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
that one. If you
Oh.
go at the end, there's the helper section.
Oh, I see it.
And that basically lives alongside the resource. And those methods can be called from inside of the actual code.
Oh wait, so these methods can be called inside of like here, inside of like these things, like the posts and whatever, like all these. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Because if you see, for example, the release, if you search for that, there's one place where it's getting called to get the actual release. Oh, you can search on inside of that file, the
oh, inside this
links.rb.
file. My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Release.rb or just
No,
actual
inside
release.
the links.rb, you can
Oh, my
find
bad. My bad.
release. That's called
Oh yeah, you're right.
online.
Like delete do. Oh yeah, you're right. It is being called here.
Yeah.
Oh, so
So
it has to do helpers do. Oh, that's
yeah,
how. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that actually helps a lot. I had no idea how to do that. Yeah, thank you so much.
don't worry.
How do you figure this kind of stuff out like quickly or efficiently? Because when I was working on this, like a lot of like small things really like tripped me up. Like for example, oh sorry, continue.
No, basically, I knew that some other API did use methods to avoid code duplication. So I just went to one that I knew that it was using methods, like the links.rb, and had a look at how they do it. Otherwise, your best bet is try to guess one place where it's could be doing the same thing, unless you know the code, the source code, and you know where you could find it, or ask over on Discord if there's someone around that can help and give you some pointers.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing too. I was kind of like scared to just like keep asking stuff before like I actually had something done, you know? Feel like it was kind of like being too much of a bother. So I was like, okay, I was gonna figure it out on my own. But this is kind of like not consistent, right? Because like Ruby's usually like super consistent as like a language. the helpers do.
Uh,
Actually, it might be consistent. I don't know. this
I'm not I don't know. Ruby is not my native language, so I can't really
I was going to
confirm or
say
deny it.
the only Ruby I've done is with GitLab.
Yeah, same thing.
Do you actually mind if I ask like a couple like other questions as well? If you guys don't have any more commentary on this one and this code as well.
Just quickly, I did post a message in the chat. If you jump into that cluster agents MD file,
Endpoint and cannot be retrieved afterward. Okay, search for this in cluster agents MD file. Okay. So
yeah, it's just a bit of text on that page that should be in an info box.
it's like a
So
note
that's the
box.
one. Yeah. So if you
thank
copy
you.
that, actually, I can send you the link to the. Yeah, I sent you a link to the actual documentation page as well.
Oh, to see how it gets rendered.
Renders, yeah. So if you scroll down a little bit, then you've gone too far.
Oh, right here.
Back.
No,
No, further back up. Keep going. Stop
right here.
Go.
Oh, that looks
Yeah,
really
so
nice.
it'll render like that.
Oh, I see. Oh man, I actually just that is really nice. That's like perfect. And that's pretty much like for a tiny note. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think GitLab's pretty amazing how like the front end documentation is like so like easily edited. I thought it was gonna be like a whole thing with like, kind of like I think like the front end here is kind of like the Vue. And like I kind of worked on another issue for a little bit, but I kind of gave up. It was like because I basically never used Vue Vue before. And like there was a bunch of things about like Vuex, and like apparently Vuex is being like depreciated and being moved to Apollo. And it's being like data being moved everywhere. I'm like, nah, I honestly don't got this. I've used React before, but and like I think Vuex is like similar to Redux, but oh my god, like I have no idea what's going on.
I think Vue and Vuex are a lot easier to get your head around than React. I hate using React.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are in the process of changing everything again at the moment. Like you said, to use Apollo, which simplifies things again quite a bit in a few places.
Thank God.
Yeah, Vuex new stuff is not getting, unless you can't really update it at the moment. All the new stuff is getting done using Vue, not even Vuex. So yeah, and that's actually, I can confirm that it's way easier than React.
All right, I guess I'll try making like a personal project in Vue, just like learn it, and then I'll try learning Apollo so I can like try working on front end stuff as well. Because right now, like I was just so clueless. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of working from nothing right now. It kind of feels kind of hard working from like when like you kind of haven't kind of done anything in it yet.
Yeah.
Watch out if you want to do that, because we're still using Vue 2. We haven't migrated to Vue 3 yet.
Oh, damn.
So if you start a project using Vue 3, then you might get some surprises.
All right, I should probably like work on a Vue 2 project then. It's kind of crazy because I think GitLab stays super updated with like Rails and all that, right? Like you guys use like the most modern version of Rails, and like I think Ruby 3.2, like a version past 3.2, and you guys also
it's like, taken a long time.
Yeah,
we switched to Ruby 3 only a few months ago.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a huge code base. I can't really say they stay on top of it, but they're definitely aware of where they need to get to.
Yeah,
it just takes a long time because there's so much stuff they've got to be considerate of.
Yeah, even the switch over to Vue 3, it's getting prepared, and they are making sure that new stuff that it's getting done, it's as much as possible compatible with Vue 3.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst part, right? Staying like backwards compatible. It's like I was trying to do this thing where like, so I basically worked freelance on Upwork like a little bit, and I got this like, project, right? And essentially they had like this semi-big project, obviously not nearly as big as GitLab, and it was like it was like a lot of code. It wasn't that like complex, but like the fact that like the current Rails version they were using was like 4.2, and like they actually wanted to update to Rails 7, and I was like,
Oh.
damn,
That's a big jump.
yeah. And like I was reading like the Rails docs for like how to do it, and they were like, okay, you gotta like update by like like you basically start updating Rails versions one by one. You look at depreciation warnings, and you keep doing that. And then later on, once your Rails version is too high, you also have to update the Ruby version, and you kind of keep repeating all the way up until you reach the latest version. But the main issue is like if right now you use like a different front end. Like for example, you use like they're using like the really old like React Rails gem, the one that's like really depreciated. And oh my god, it honestly just looked like it was going to be a massive pain. Yeah. I can't imagine how much worse it would be for like, GitLab, considering like how much more code it is, and how much more complex it is as well.
Well, the GitLab code base is huge. So, and
I'm just having a quick check here. Yeah, they're using Ruby 3.1 and Rails 7.08 apparently. So yeah, they're pretty up to date now.
Yeah,
but it is a big task.
Yeah, because you have to make sure, like, if something goes wrong, GitLab goes down, and that's not good.
Oh yeah. You guys hear about the story where a person basically dropped like a GitLab database or something? They basically dropped a like production database.
That was actually when we were looking the first time we were looking at migrating to GitLab, because I found out about it and then started watching the live stream of them recovering it. It was quite amusing.
Yeah,
it happens.
You know, it shouldn't, but it happens.
Yeah,
I guess that now it won't happen anymore.
So if it happens next week, Marco's to blame now.
No. I don't have access to production database, so no, I can't be.
No, you just jinxed it. I'm saying.
Oh, no. Okay, let's pretend that I didn't say anything. Okay, so you mentioned that there was something else that you wanted us to take a look.
Oh yeah, sure. I guess I had a couple other like random questions as well. But one of the big questions I kind of had like when joining this meeting was like, do you guys have like a particular workflow, like, or a bunch of tools you guys use to like contribute open source faster, or basically look up things faster? Like for example, obviously like I have my own set of tools, but I feel like they're very inefficient. I also use like GitHub Chat, but this thing lies all the time. It lies to me so much.
I have not tried GitHub Chat yet, actually.
It's actually a little bit better than ChatGPT, but like it still lies and misleads you so badly. Yeah.
Man. Tools, what do I use? Oh gosh, when I'm doing GitLab stuff, I run it all in a separate virtual machine. Because I've got issues running things in my main Linux installation for some reason. But other than that, not really. VS Code with the extensions enabled. I test things in Firefox instead of Chrome, but that's just personal preference. For finding things out, I get where you were coming from earlier on, where it's just like there's all this stuff and you've no idea where to start. I think everybody feels like that, and I don't want to say the best way. The way I got over that is just by continuing to like try and just work things out. The Discord is definitely a good place to start asking questions now. This is relatively recent, like what now, 6 months maybe, Marco?
That's official?
Yeah.
No, even more than 6 months. I guess
really?
was. I guess it was before last Christmas.
No, really? That long ago? Maybe actually.
At least 6 months. Let's put it there.
So I mean, yeah, the Discord is still in a growth stage, I guess. There's people joining every day, which is quite nice.
Well, we're
and it's-
over 2,000 members now.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously it's an unofficial community, kind of officially unofficial GitLab community server. There are a few people from GitLab on there, but it's not like a requirement for GitLab staff to go on there. So don't expect timely responses from anyone at GitLab in particular. But it's definitely better than what it was before, where the only real connection you had was through merge request comments.
Like way harder,
And-
right?
Yeah, yes and no, because the GitHub team tends to respond to pings on issues or merge requests relatively quickly. They're pretty active on there. Like it's their main tool to do that. So they are always keeping an eye on there.
I see. I think Shivam has
yeah.
a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Actually, hello. I'm new to open source, and especially I think I'm not that much like into GitLab, and like I've not gone through GitLab that much. So I recently joined the GitLab's open source contribution, uh, like where GitLab accepts open source contribution. So I wanted to know like what will be the process to contribute into GitLab's open source community, and like how I can uh, contribute to GitLab. So yeah, like here in the like when I open the issues board, there are like a lot many contributors like tickets available. So like can I know like which repo or how I can contribute to the ticket or the task mentioned in that contributor section of the project?
Well, if there's already an issue existing with some request on some stuff to do, I think the best way to go about it is let me find let's have a look if I can find an example, because the best way is to actually ping someone from the team and ask them if the issue has already an implementation plan. Then you basically have already everything to start working on, or at least the big part of it. So you can basically ask someone from the team to assign that issue to you, so that everybody knows that you are working on that. And even if the issue doesn't have an implementation plan, you could still ping someone from the team or from the core team to ask what should be done and maybe provide an implementation plan. Because if you're starting out contributing to GitLab, then you basically, no one expects you to know where the change should be made and how it should be made. So the implementation plan is the best way to get to know what you have to do. And yeah, reaching out to the team members, maybe who opened the issue, or if you go through the history of that issue and see some team members did interact with that issue, you can ping them and ask if you can work on it, and they can assign you and you can start working basically.
Yeah, as for finding issues to work on, if I think you said you're not using GitLab, I'd normally recommend that if you are. Yeah, I'd normally recommend that if you are using GitLab, if you find something that bothers you or you think could be done better or as like a small improvement, that's normally a really good place to start because you're actually fixing something that is going to impact yourself. If not, then yeah, Ted's posted there in the chat some labels that you can search for as good starting places to find new issues. And then I'd literally just scroll through the list and find something that either seems like the right kind of skill level for what you're looking for, or something that, again, you think would be impactful for you, your team, or your day to day work, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you guys know when an issue is like open again? Because when looking through a lot of like quick wins, seeking community contributions and stuff like that, there are a lot of issues that somebody was assigned to it, but like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, but after being assigned, they basically just disappeared. And but like those issues kind of like never got any comments again. Is it okay to like ask to be assigned to that issue after that? Because it's open and somebody's assigned to it, but they're assigned to like a year ago and they haven't like done anything since. So I'm assuming they kind of left it already.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine for you to do that. For the what does Lee call it when we go through issues and whatnot? Like not sanitizing.
No,
like
it's
tidying up.
why can't I think about that?
I can't think what it is. Every now and again, we'll go through a list of issues and try and fix things up, like see if they're
Filtering.
still relevant, that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you do see some that no one has acted upon for a while, ping the person at GitLab who was previously looking at it, or if there was no one there, I'm going to throw Lee under the bus here and say ping Lee Ticket. He's really good at getting these kind of things tidied up.
Actually, it's maybe safer. I mean, Lee is pretty much always around, but if you ping the contributor success team, which Lee is part of, you're
they've got their own tag.
Yeah, you're basically ensured to get someone to have a look. Let me find the handle for that.
And like, is the contribution only limited to the label with contributor success, or one can contribute to other labels also, like apart from contributor success?
Absolutely not. You can commit to any issue that you see there that you want to pick up. There, I believe historically that label was for something that GitLab kind of agrees with, but doesn't have any real roadmap or any intention of actually working on it. But if someone from the community wants to pick it up, then they're more than welcome to go for it.
Yep.
And I was like, I started, like, as I said, like, I'm not that used to GitLab. I've started like creating my own personal projects, private projects though. So I'm like creating my own projects here on GitLab only. Any suggestions or any ideas how I can make my GitLab workflow like better, or I can the deployment or the development process better, so that I can use GitLab's full potential for my development and my deployment process?
Oh, that's a big question.
I was going to say, I think you need a
Sorry,
solutions person from GitLab to help with that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because I think it really depends on what you want to do
so
and
like
how you
my
want to do
main
it.
Okay. My main target is I'm just a JavaScript Node.js developer. So I was working with my own project, and I just wanted that the project, like I can create a cron job over GitLab, and that cron job can like repeatedly execute some task related to my project, and can check whether the project is still like secure, or is not open to attack or something like that. So like if GitLab could help me with that, I don't think I would have to use a separate cloud or any other service to track those kind of issues.
Well, that's basically what the CI/CD pipelines are for. So if you like on using GitLab, how we do that, for example, in our company, is basically we use merge requests and pipelines on merge requests that basically on every push to a branch on an MR starts tests like static analysis and other tests to make sure like the simple stuff like code formatting is right, or you can check for other like security stuff, but and you can even fail the pipeline if, for example, some security issues are found, so you cannot merge the code until you fix those, or you can force it. Like this is really it setting up a project is really, it really depends on what you want to do, how you want to do it, and yeah, it's like I don't know how to better describe it. Like Andrew said, it's basically something that the solution architect would be able to help you out more actively or with examples, and maybe you can provide an example of what you want to do, and they can go get back with an example of how you can do it. If you want to, if you use GitLab at its full potential, let's put it that way, you have project management tool, you have CI/CD all integrated, you have the code repository all integrated. Like we at our company basically use GitLab for everything, and we were able to remove all the other tools. So that's totally doable, at least 99% of the times, I guess.
Yeah, that's why we ended up moving from GitHub to GitLab. We were using GitHub, we were using Jenkins for CI/CD, and we're using something called Favro, which is like a ticket management kind of thing, issue tracking. And it was just getting ridiculous to maintain them all, so I just switched over. And then about 3 months after we started moving, GitHub said, "Oh, we're doing GitHub Actions now." I was like, "Oh, that would have been handy a few months ago."
Yeah, but even then,
GitHub.
GitHub Actions, I find GitHub Actions to be difficult to follow. Like I never set up one, but when I recently contributed to a project that had GitHub Actions running, but every time I wanted to go to see what the logs were and other stuff, I wasn't able to find where to go to on the UI. Then I was getting redirected to other website because maybe the GitHub Action was running other stuff on other services.
I do.
Like,
yeah, I do. I'm sorry, I should have said. I do still think that GitLab's integration, the whole single stop kind of thing, is a lot nicer than GitHub, and potentially more powerful. Although I haven't really used GitHub Actions at all to be able to fully confirm that. But I think from my comment was really in relation to, from a business point of view, if GitHub Actions had existed a bit sooner, we may have just stuck with GitHub. I do still much prefer GitLab as a product.
That's correct. Actually, I have used GitHub Actions, and to be honest, I don't like. I've not yet used GitLab to its full potential, but in case of GitHub, I have used Actions, and Actions are like I think we can configure them separately for individual action that we want to perform, and we can create multiple actions in a single file also. So
Yep.
like GitLab, on the other hand, I think it creates only one single file, .gitlab ci.yaml, I think so. And
No, you
so
can have multiple files and then include them inside of that file. But you could even have the pipeline files like you mentioned, the GitLab CI.yaml on different
yeah,
projects and
okay,
and basically use those files from the other projects inside of your project.
okay.
Just to let you know, Ted, you're still sharing your screen. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I think uh, that's what I was like. In GitHub Actions, things are like segregated. You can separate your own actions based on like what one has to perform the operation on. Like including of files, yeah, that is a good approach. But in case of that, they segregate everything. So if you want a testing action, then you can test everything on in that particular action, and you can create multiple jobs there, and you can like connect multiple pipelines based on that job. So yeah, that in that case I can separate my all the actions can be separated. So yeah,
Mhm.
in GitLab CI, I think the include feature made me a bit like I didn't try that, but yeah, I think if I will use it, I'll know better. But the GitLab single file will make the content of that file a bit lengthy. So yeah, including multiple files also will make it look a bit like it will make it a bit hectic to read. So readability can be that issue. But yeah, I've not used it yet, so I can't say anything. But yeah, as I'll use it, I'll let you guys know more about that also.
Yeah, I think that if you start using it, it really and you get to know how it works. I I think you won't think what you are thinking right now. I don't know if that makes any sense because you can on each pipeline you can have multiple jobs, you can have rules to decide whether or not to run each job or whether or not to run the whole
Yes.
pipeline. You can split the file like in our case we, for example, split up the file to have one file with all the build rules and build jobs, one file for the tests, one file for the deployments, and then we have child pipelines like jobs that trigger pipelines on other uh, projects to then do other stuff. You can do a lot of things and you can arrange the code in a way that it's not that lengthy and cumbersome. But like you mentioned, if you start using it, then you can have a better idea.
Yeah, I think so. That will help me more in understanding because like I'm mostly into GitHub Actions, so yeah, I think using it will make more sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Andrew, you have
That
something to add?
no. I was just like telling you that only I wanted to say.
Oh, it's Andrew again. Bye, Andrew.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Likewise.
Take care. See you, man.
We're almost at time. So, is there any other question that you have, or something else you want to have a look at? Otherwise, I think we are good to go for this training session.
No, I guess I'm good. That was like tons of help. Thanks, guys.
No worries. Shivam, that's good. All good
Yeah,
for you?
for me also. Yeah, all for me. Thanks a lot.
Okay. No worries.
You guys.
And if you have any other question, you can always reach out on Discord, or if you have questions or want to work on issues or stuff like that, you can ping the contributor success team or someone from the GitLab core team or the actual GitLab team if you find that someone has replied to an issue, and go from there.
Oh, actually, do you mind if I ask one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you guys ever do like pair programming and stuff like that? Like you can just hop in, like ask somebody, like and like basically see like somebody who's like contributed for a long time and just see their workflow, see how they work, see how like they reason about things. I guess I feel that'd be very helpful for like a more like junior contributor who kind of doesn't have like the big picture yet, and kind of see like because I feel like a lot of things that do get you stuck are kind of like small things, and kind of like pretty much like the second time you do it, you could do it like in like 5 minutes, but the first time it might take you like hours, and it's kind of just like
True.
running into like, these early problems, you know.
Yeah, this Tuesday session, like the pairing session, we usually try to. The main goal of those is to basically do pair programming. But
Oh.
sometimes it happens, like it happened today, that we talk about other stuff, and so they're not only focused on pair programming. But if you want to have another session, or your time zone is not playing too nicely, but if you have questions or want to have some help, you can always get to us on Discord, and we can reach out and then even have a pairing session.
Yeah, that would actually be like really awesome. Yeah, I think like we're like across the world from each other, like opposite time zones.
Yeah, for you, being the 3 a.m. isn't really that good, but if you want to stay up late, then we can help out.
Yeah, all right. I guess next Tuesday then.
Okay. Well then, I guess. Sorry, Shivan, go on.
No, just was an informative question. Like, what's the GitLab's tech stack?
Tech stack.
Yeah,
Uh, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you
like
want? Yeah, go on.
what does GitLab's most of the projects or all of the projects mainly are created on? Ruby, JavaScript, Python. So yeah, like that.
Uh, the main GitLab product, like the actual website that you see, is written in Ruby and Vue. But they're using all sorts of stuff. For example, the GitLab Runner project, which is the executor that's running the jobs for the pipelines, is done in Go, I think. And the GitLab Kubernetes agent is also done on Go. Uh, but yeah, I think that there's a couple of projects using Rust, maybe. But yeah, they're not only using Ruby or Vue. They use, I, I guess that they use the best tool or language that they can think of to get the job done. So yeah, it's pretty wide, the tech stack.
Understood. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I think. Oh, and, uh, just we can do it. So you think that gonna be a huge upgrade from Ruby 3.1 to Ruby 3.2?
Well, I guess not huge, right? But I think like that's gonna be like a pretty major speed up. because I heard like Ruby 3.2, there's like that whole thing where they're using the new just-in-time compiler written in Rust, and kind of like that's what Shopify did. They kind of switched it over, and apparently it was kind of a pain at some points, but apparently it sped up the application really a lot.
I heard about this, like the Rollup project that's also going to switch over to Rust for the compiler. But yeah, I'm not too deep down on those specs of the tech stack, so I don't really know. Okay.
Rust is like a bit heavy, so I,
No, go.
I was
Yeah.
like, Rust is a bit heavy. Its binaries are way heavy. So, like when used in production, the release build are very much heavy. Prisma is using Rust on it, like in its query engine, I think. So, entire query engine is built on Rust. Prisma's entire query engine is built on Rust. So, yeah, it's a bit heavy. The computation is a bit heavy for Rust. So, yeah, that's the thing. I don't know, but yeah, I've like seen a lot of videos and people using Prisma for production. But I think when data gets bigger or is more than normal, so yeah, Rust is not that handy with that kind of load. So yeah, it's a bit heavy compilation and everything. Today only I was like working on it with one of my colleague. On he is like a Web3 dev, so the entire like compilation, the binary that was created after compiling the project, it was like about 1.1 GB. So and also it is based on the architecture of the system. So like every time that when one switches to the architecture, then they have to like rebuild the entire project. So yeah, that's a bit hectic process to do every time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes then.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, is Ruby on Rails and Ruby itself both are different, right?
I think that Ruby on Rails is just a web framework for Ruby. And Ruby is the
Okay,
actual language.
okay. Understood. Understood.
Okay, then.
Yep.
I have to go because I'm running pretty low on time. So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's been nice to have you both on board and chat with you.
Thanks a lot for having us.
No worries. And see you next time then.
Sure,
Alright,
sure.
thank you so
Bye
much.
Bye
bye.
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 Oh,
Bye
by
bye.
the way, I just remembered that if you want to see very sessions, all the sessions that we do on Tuesday are uploaded to our YouTube channel. And if you go back in time, like there are 16 more videos of our pairing sessions where we do some coding.
Oh, nice. And then I guess I get to see the guy's workflow from there, and I just learn from that. Yeah, thank you. Awesome.
No, I'm actually trying to get the link for that. Yeah.
Is it just GitLab YouTube channel? I mean, not
No,
GitLab community
no,
YouTube channel.
it's community coders for GitLab, and I'm pasting the link on the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay then.
Not found.
Sorry.
Not found.
Oh. Let me.
Wait,
The
let me
link
try again.
for me.
Yeah,
No,
it's working. It's working. Sorry, I directly clicked from the notification that came down there. So yeah, it didn't work.
Okay. Well then, see you next
Yeah,
time. Thanks for
sure,
joining.
sure. Thanks a lot
Bye
for
bye.
having us. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.